Welcome back, everybody, to the Be the Frequency podcast. Or if you're watching this on YouTube, we're so happy to have you. I am sitting with one of my favorite people that I've known now for a long time, and I'm so grateful that actually meeting my husband brought her into my life. I'm sitting here with Casey Jade, and she's a phenomenal, specifically boudoir photographer. She does all types of photography, but she is honest, like if you have not seen her photos, please go find her. Like you're welcome. Casey Jade Photography, right? That's your handle.
Highest Self Studios now. I switched it because it's not about me, it's about them.
I love that. Yeah, and that's kind of what we're going to talk about a bit today is a lot of her transition. It's part of the reason why I wanted her to come here and talk to you guys is that she has, I think so many people feel this where they're maybe really good at something, they offer a service or something like that, and they're just to the point where they're like, I don't necessarily hate this. This isn't necessarily something that I want to give up or, like this is soul sucking or anything like that, but there's more for me. And I think Casey has done such a great job of starting to bridge that gap that a lot of us are kind of maybe scared or overwhelmed or anxious to take those leaps because there's so much unknown. So I actually would really like to talk about kind of where you started though, and like how did
Mhm.
you get into boudoir? And I think in the theme of talking about how to be the frequency of the person that can stand there and be like, take your clothes off for me so I can take pictures of you. Like, how did that come to be? How did we get here?
How do we get here? It's a beautiful love story. It starts on a Tuesday in 1987. I'm just kidding. I was born on a Tuesday in 1987, but that's not where we're starting. So I was actually bartending and I was just waiting for people to come into the bar, give me $1 to open their beer. And I realized that I didn't want to do that anymore. So I went to my mom's house and I asked her what she thought I should go back to school for because I was so out of that education system and I really wanted to enrich my life and I know I needed more impact. And she literally said photography because I was in theater, because I had been in customer service in the retail space, because I was then in the service industry, because I loved being creative and helping people. She thought I was going to be a social worker when I was in elementary school. So I started school for photography with a digital camera in a box that I had no idea how to turn on. And
Like,
the
we're gonna get this
first
though.
yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm like, I'm going to conquer this. It's fine. Like, this is just a challenge. Like, when I decided that I was going to snowboard when I couldn't get down the mountain my first time and I was going to conquer it. But the first class that I took, where I had to do an assignment where I took a photo of a friend, I realized that I could impact somebody's confidence and how they saw themselves through the way that I was being able to see them through my lens.
Mm,
So, as soon as I realized that, and I saw that there was this beautiful art form of boudoir, which really means bedroom in
yeah.
French, I love being able to hold a vulnerable space for women to feel more comfortable in their bodies so they can take that confidence into the rest of their lives so that they can be the frequency and really not just be like faking it until you make it. Like, I want you to have something tangible to show you how amazing you are inside and that you do have everything that you need to succeed. And that's where the boudoir photography is so impactful because it really gets down to the most nitty gritty, which is naked, right? So if you can be comfortable with yourself and your body, and I can give you beautiful art to show you how beautiful you are, it starts to shift your neural pathways in
Mm.
every other aspect of your life.
Yeah, well, and I love that you even tied that together because that's the thing is we do search for confirmation of what we believe to already be true. So it's part of the reason why somebody might tell you something and you're like, I don't know if I believe that. And then you might be like, you know what? I'm going to kind of look into this. And then you're curious. And the more that you collect these things that you're like, oh no, that does actually feel very true for me, it's not just that you heard it one time, it's that your environment around you mirrored what felt true for you. And it's why so many people can live so many different lives and
Mhm.
behave differently and all those things. And that can all be true for everybody. But I think so many of us are afraid to be seen, if I'm being completely honest. I noticed it for myself coming up recently. I literally recorded a TikTok about this, I think yesterday or the day before. So it's funny that we would kind of be going down this road. Yeah, I was like, it's like the universe knows. Shit.
Always.
Also, we started recording this podcast at 11:11. So if that doesn't tell you the shit's going to be good, it's going to be good. But I realized throughout just finishing up my PhD program and graduating, I recognized that I went to that for me. Thank you. Thank you. She's giving me a little clap.
All the
If
claps.
you can't see, that doing that, I felt like once I have this, then I'll be seen
Oh,
as more of a professional, more of an authority, because I'm already in a field that is always kind of thought of as woo woo or weird or things like that. Natural medicine, stuff like that, has to me is the most natural of medicines. It's the first medicine, and everything else is actually the alternative or like, things
mm,
like that. However, I recognize that's not how all of society is. And so getting pushback when they're like, you just went through a certification or you just learned this on your own. I was like, well, I mean, I've been reading and learning and educating myself for years out of pure enjoyment. And like, literally, my soul feels this pull and this knowing. And again, that truth. I
mm.
read about it. But again, when you get that pushback, you think, oh, maybe I need more. And I think
Well,
that's where,
and that trap of like, when this happens, this will happen.
yes,
It's so interesting how we can't feel like we're validated in that until we get the PhD or until we get the whatever,
yes.
because it's like society's purview of that and how we're being judged by them for what we're doing and what we have as the education in our background versus just coming from life experience out of doing this for so many years and you learned it for yourself. That's not enough for people anymore. But I love that you went the route of the PhD because you really do have all that badass cred now. And you were still amazing before, and you still impacted so many people's lives before the PhD.
Well, and that's the thing is even now showing up, there's still pushback. Like I still have like right now, I mean, it's kind of slowed down now, but it hit almost like like 300,000. So what is that, quarter of a million ish
Hmm.
views? And some of these others are climbing at like 30,000, 20,000, things like that. And there's still people that are like, well, why is she wearing a lab coat just because she has doctor in her name? And I'm like, why do you take your time out of your day to write these things? And again, it didn't matter. It didn't matter that I had the doctorate. It didn't matter like what I looked like, how, and I was kind of doing this like science experiment of a couple of things in my content to see some things. And I mean, this was exactly the point, is that it proved that just because this is my truth, and no matter what education I get, no matter how, you want to think that now I'll be enough, it's like,
Mm,
if you let those things mirror back to you a world that you're allowing the negativity to be the self-affirming instead of the positivity, your world will constantly be inundated with those negative thoughts, and then you can't
hmm,
see yourself for how beautiful you are. You can't
mm,
see, you don't feel comfortable to be vulnerable. And in that sense, I think doing boudoir, something that really like literally strips you bare, I think allows you to see yourself in some of these different lights, that when you compare yourself to all of these other people or you're using other people as your mirror, you often feel like you come up short,
hmm.
instead of allowing yourself, your truth. And again, those people around you who want to see the good in you to be your mirror.
Well, and I've seen so much of that because so many women don't think that boudoir's for them, or they think that they are some list of things that is a person that wouldn't invest in that. And throughout my career, I found that so many women that I work with in their branding and their business, when they get to then know, like, and trust me, then they're like, oh, I might be interested in this now that I see how it feels to be on the other side of the camera with you. But when I started in boudoir, it was a little hard to really get to that space unless they really did know and trust me first.
Yeah. And I think that is so telling of how our nervous system is like, even though it might be something that they want, something that they're curious in, until they feel safety
Mhm.
with the person that they're going to be vulnerable with, they're not going to open up. And so, a lot of times, when you're asking people to, whether you're asking people to pay you large sums of money for like mentorship or coaching or things like that, or you're asking them, in like hosting retreats and stuff like that to share some of these things, it typically doesn't happen first night, but it can. And I
Mhm.
feel like maybe we can talk a little bit about how you make an environment that feels safe for people to be vulnerable. Like, what are your, not to say like tricks of the trade, but like what you notice that helps people start to feel safe around you, and things that you've had to embody to make that a safe space for them.
Thank you for phrasing it that way because it really has been the process of embodying it myself so that I can be the example. And I'm always my most authentic self. I always show up, no matter if it's on camera, in person, on social media. I am always me. I'm a little bit goofy. I'm a little bit raw. I can be edgy. I feel like me being able to sink truly into the fact that I am my meest me helps others do that as well. And I have
Mm-hmm.
realized that the deep work that needs to come before you're ready to be on camera is a much deeper process than just talking about where you'd like to shoot, what outfits, what you would feel comfortable in, what favorite colors, what favorite textures, why you want to do boudoir and what it means to you, what it looks like. Because there's a whole spectrum of what boudoir is. It's not just like naked photos or lingerie or what so have you. I have women start in their most comfortable outfit. That could be completely fully clothed just so they get comfortable in front of the camera. But I realized as I was working with all of these beautiful souls that I was only scratching the surface of the impact and the change that I wanted to actualize in them, not just with the photos, but with their actual view of themselves. So
Mm-hmm.
now I've expanded that process. So now they either have an option of doing 90 days with me before to really sink into who they are, what they love about themselves, what they want to embrace, what they want to let go of, or they do a 1 day intensive. More of my male clients do the 1 day intensive and more of my female clients do the 90 days, but it's open to everybody. But just so we can really get down to it, so it's not just photos and they have actual change after it.
I freaking love that. And honestly, I don't really see people bridging that gap in the photo world like you are. And I think that's really telling too of what our culture and society is starting to look at it. This isn't just a photo. I'm not just taking a sexy photo of you. I'm looking at what you have to be in order to feel your sexiest, most confident self. That means I also have to feel that way because otherwise I can't. You can't see it when you're really unsure of yourself, when you're really unsure of your body. It's very hard because your inner critic is loud to not also be critical or judgmental of
Mhm.
other people. So it's in that sense of like that transition of, okay, I'm doing photos. What were some of the things that came up for you that you were like, hey, if I'm going to like take this next step and I'm going to expand into more of, again, mentorship and coaching on teaching people how to love themselves and their body, what did that process look like for you? Because I feel like, again, so many people get caught up in that. This is what I do. This is the service that I offer. Not sure they want, there's so many pieces that they see that needs to be like added in for a better experience, but they're
Right.
not sure how to like thread them together.
It was really two things. One was how unfortunate of a feeling I had and how heavy of a feeling I had when I would take these beautiful photos of certain clients and a small percentage of them would want very manipulated edits done versus just loving
Mm.
themselves for who they were in those photos. They were still very particular about this. So I felt like it's not the photos, it's not the photographer, it's you. Because if you're not in love with yourself in these images, there's more work that we get to do. And the second piece of that was I saw so many people, especially with technology now ramping up, doing these AI photos,
Yeah.
which are a very strange veil of who they are. And they get an image where they get a version of themselves that they can embrace, that they like, but it's really not
It's not
them.
them. It's a
And
mask.
it's a
Yeah.
mask. And as more technology comes in, I think then the need for personal coaching and growth and development and actually loving ourselves becomes more of a need in our
Mm.
society. So I wanted to bridge that gap as soon as I saw that happening because I know that it's going to create mental health issues just seeing these filtered AI pictures, Snapchat filters,
Yeah,
all
we're
these things
already
that have
seeing
come
it.
out.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the need is so there. And all of the conversations I have with my friends and clients just kind of led me along that path to know I can be the cheerleader for you because I've always been that support system and coach through the shoot. But I had so much more available to me for the tools and resources to use for them. And that's why I wanted to expand it.
Yeah. And even just, I think it almost hurts your heart when you take pictures And I mean, I think you see this a lot when you take pictures with friends and then they're like, let me see it. And they're like, oh, no, my belly looks like this. Like, what is my arm doing? My arm's so fat. And they have this whole dialogue when you're like, that's so strange. I thought this was a great photo of you. And like how you see yourself. And it's been something that I have noticed more prominently, probably the past, I don't know, maybe year or so of creeping towards 40. And I think in your 20s, you're a lot more caught up in your more internal dialogue. And I mean,
Hmm.
this might not be everybody, but this was my experience. Being very aware of what I'm saying, how I'm saying this constant chatter that was often unkind, and then recognizing like that was doing me no favors
Mm.
and really diving deep into, okay, I want to change the way that I talk to myself. And as a byproduct, it changed the way that I viewed the world and I viewed people. And kind of like you're saying, there's like this almost like this soft spot that develops for those people who are so critical of themselves. I even watch people who often talk about other people or judge other people or always have something to say. I was like, God, your internal world you must judge yourself so harshly if this is how you talk about other people.
Yes.
Like, if this is how you talk about other people, I can only imagine your inner critic, how loud it is.
How hurt your inner child is and
Yes.
how unsafe you feel in your body.
Yes. And like you're seeking this outside validation. So you take the boudoir thinking, I'll feel sexy in these, but I'm so critical. I can take the most beautiful photo and I will find something, which is, I think, why it's so important for this kind of work.
Hmm.
And people who are bridging, I think, not just the mindset piece, because I think that gets a little convoluted sometimes of like what mindset work actually is. That's like a
Hmm.
whole other podcast
That's a
topic,
whole nother thing, girl. We
a
got
whole other can of worms.
episode 2.
Yeah. Um, but it just gets so, it's understanding that it's not just what's happening in the mind, it's also the action that you're taking to affirm, kind of circling back, like what's happening in the mind and in the body
Mhm.
and in the nervous system. And so having something like that you've developed is like this perfect kind of mix and marry. I didn't realize this, but somebody told me this story one time, and I was like, "Oh, this is so genius." So Betty Crocker, when she first came out with instant cake mix, you literally didn't need to add anything but water. They're like, this will be great. When is this? Like early 50s, somewhere right around there. They're like, it will take all this like headache off the housewife or the person who's taking care of the home. It will simplify everything. They won't need eggs, they won't need oil, flour, like all these separate ingredients. They can just have this one thing and add the water. And then there was actually this like big pushback because they didn't feel like they were involved in the process. So they actually
Mm.
removed some ingredients of it was like, okay, now you need to add an egg, an oil, some oil, and some
Some
water.
oil or milk, right?
Yeah, and so it's like just dehydrated, or it was just the dry product instead, and it sold so much more. And it's like
Mm.
understanding that it can't just be like somebody can't just give you all of these affirmations. Like it has to be something that's embodied and something that you live. And I think the services that you're offering it's that lived experience that people need.
Because I don't want photography and especially boudoir photography to be an easy button fix because it's not. It's
Mhm.
not just a switch that you can flip where you're like, oh my God, I'm hot now. I love myself. I'm confident. I have this power. I know that I can trust my voice. I know that I can trust my intuition and my gut. That's such deeper work. And
Yeah.
it's so much with somatics and nervous system and mindset. It's the whole entire holistic being of us. And photos are not going to fix it. It's all the work that you do before.
Yeah. But I think people look at it, it's kind of, I always joke, it's like how yoga is for like mindfulness and like, meditation. It's like the physical, like asana practice is like the gateway drug. Like you think we were just stretching and then we're going to be meditating. I got you. Yeah, that's exactly how it feels because so many times people show up thinking that, oh, I'm just tight. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, a rigid body typically also has a very rigid mind. Not that you have to be uber flexible and put your nose to your ankles, not that it's not necessarily about that, but it's actually about like the flexibility of your breath. So people get in these shapes and they get frustrated and they kind of do all these things. And that's like boudoir. Like if you think you're going to come here and take some photos and that's going to solve all your problems about how you look to your body, it's not.
Mm-mm. No, that's one of the most beautiful presents and gifts that yin or that yoga in general and yin yoga specifically has given me, to actually quiet down and figure out where I'm still fighting myself and
Mm,
how I'm not able to sink into my body, or if I fight the breath, or if I fight the pose, or where am I holding on to what?
yeah.
I see so many people, especially women in their businesses with branding, personal branding, everybody who's the face of their company, right? Speakers, coaches, authors, that they spend all this time and money on these branding photos and it's not actually them.
Yeah.
So
But
going
it's
through
what
the
they think
process,
that sells.
exactly, exactly. Going through the same process before you have a branding photo shoot is also super beneficial, because you get true clarity on who you are, what you want to represent, who your ideal client is, all of that back work before you're just wasting time and money on what you think you need or what TikTok tells you you need.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I see so many people are like, I specifically see it like when people have root chakra imbalances, they don't have a lot of energy in there. They're like, I just need a website. And I'm like, you can
Mhm.
literally sell anything. Like we got Stan Store now. We got all these other platforms that make like you can make a quick dollar. Like if you can sign up for Square, you
Right.
business, you can get yourself like a business. You do not need a website. You need people to know about your product and a way for them to pay you, and that is
And
it.
that's it.
But kind of that same idea of like, I think I need, or they'll again book a photo shoot.
It'll happen when,
Yes. I
like,
think I'll do this photo shoot and then I'll be professional and I want to charge, six figures or I want to charge, let's say $20,000 for my mastermind.
right.
And you're like, oh, okay. So you think wearing a tux and high heels and like a slick back bun, that's the image of somebody who sells a $20,000 mastermind. Okay, it could be to you, but it could be all of these other things. And if you don't realize that you're taking the photo, not just for marketing purposes, but also for the energy that you're exuding, you will take an entire photo shoot that you paid for and it'll be a fucking waste of money because it does not translate.
Right, because it doesn't match. Because how you do something is how you do everything,
Yeah.
right? So, like, if you still have all of that stuff in your body that you're holding on to, or all limiting beliefs, fears, all of the patterns that you've been replaying in your life, it's not going to have an effect. And it's just going to be, you're just going to keep spending money.
Yeah, which I mean, you're like, listen, I'm happy to take your photo, but I'd be happier if
Correct.
you felt like you were the person in this photo shoot all the time.
Exactly. That's why I shifted. And that's why I think now I'm only really working with specific clients on photography, and I'm working more with them on the back end than photos. So it's
Yeah.
kind of been like this shift of coming out from behind the camera and utilizing everything that I've learned about my clients in the past 14 years to help them have an even better experience and actually make it so much more worthwhile, because I thought the value was in the photo. I thought the value was in
Mm.
providing like a whole content catalog that could last them as long as possible and have a great variety. And yes, that is valuable, but it's not the point. It's not the impact.
And because as much as you could have this great catalog that they could use for all different projects, when you are somebody who doesn't identify with it in the first place, you actually get tired of those photos really quickly. You don't look back and see yourself. And so you look back at the person you were that day, and maybe you felt confident that day because you were getting your photos taken, but it will always feel disjointed
Hmm.
because you literally are not being the frequency. So I hope you're listening to this podcast and you're taking all the notes.
I'm taking notes.
That's right. I think there's so much, I feel like already there's been so much wonderful little like golden nuggets that I hope everybody's kind of extrapolating from this because when you're in business, I always joke with my clients, I'm like, if you want to have a spiritual awakening, start a business, have children.
Amen, sis. Well, and look
Like,
at how many people come into your retreats, right? They come in with this one energy. If you could take a picture of them like
oh my gosh,
before and then
I should.
after, that's one of my, I've done a couple of those during retreats, done like, hey, welcome photos. We're just coming in, we're saying hi. They have no idea, right?
Yeah.
And then afterwards, we do this empowered session, like after the retreat to embody this energy, and putting them next to each other is so beautiful
Yeah.
to see the shift and how everything shifted in their body and their eyes. You can see so much difference.
Yeah.
There was a soap commercial. I think it was Dove, maybe. I don't want to say the wrong one, but there was this crazy commercial where everybody was sitting in a waiting room, and when they got into wherever they were going, they were asked to describe the person that they were talking to in the waiting room.
Oh, yes. I remember
Did
this
you
one.
see this?
Yes.
And
Keep telling me
then
'cause it's
they
so
were
good.
asked to describe themselves. And this sketch artist, like one of the people who make the mugshots or whatever, the
Yeah.
sketch drawings for people, they would draw up the description of how they saw this other person and then how they saw themselves. And they would do the same thing with the other person and be like, how do you see yourself? How do you see this other person? And how we describe ourselves is so self deprecating, and it doesn't look anything like us in the sketch. But then when we were described by a stranger, the sketch was almost spot on.
Oh, that gives me like chills from like my neck all the way down. Ooh. Yeah, like we're so hard on ourselves. And when we want some of these, like, again, we have these bigger goals, like speaking on stages. You and I were talking about this before I hit record, but how you have transitioned from just doing photo to building all of these other things to help people. And speaking is becoming a part of that. And that, it's hard to watch people want all of these things for themselves, have these stretch goals for themselves of speaking in front of people, making six figures in their business, whatever it is. And then the way that they speak to themselves is the thing that holds them back the most, because other people tell you how phenomenal they feel when they're with you. Other people tell you how much your work has impacted them, what beautiful photos you take of them, like they've never felt so beautiful, all these things. And you're like, I can't see it for myself. And like how we are always the one who is actually saying no more often than people are opportunities are saying no. It's usually that we're not taking the action. We're not reaching out to the, even restarting this podcast. And like I talked about in the beginning, I was like, okay, feeling seen, being safe to be seen and feel safe to be misunderstood is actually what I was working through, which is a lot of like in that world. I think I don't like to call it this, and I don't think these are real. I don't think wounds are real in that sense, but I think most people would call it like the witch wound. Like, I do something different. I rely heavily on self healing, on nature, things of that nature to bring homeostasis back to my body. And in that sense, you get a lot of pushback and criticism. So, in order to feel safe to be seen, I needed to do things that made myself be seen. So, when I'm starting this podcast, I'm like, okay, I want to be really intentional with people that I have on here. That I want them to have something to say and something to give to teach people how to be that frequency. So, he's in another episode. So, if you haven't listened to the Craig Goldberg episode,
Oh, I love Greg.
yeah, I didn't realize he lived in Las Vegas.
Yeah, he's fabulous. Oh,
Yeah.
what a great human. Oh,
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I've been throwing around some ideas, and I was looking at his In Harmony beds, our vibroacoustic beds. So they have our frequency beds, and they you listen to
they're
sound. And
delicious.
yeah,
That
you
is the most
guys.
delicious experience I've ever had.
What's funny is now I've interviewed a couple of people and we've kind of just, been talking, and his beds have come up and I was like, clearly this is for me. But to circle back, I was like, I would love to have him on the podcast. I love what he's doing. It's right up my alley. I think he's so innovative, or, this company is so innovative, and he's very much the face. And so I reached out to him and he was like, yeah, no problem. And I was like, huh,
Well, you
yes,
think these people are like inaccessible, but everybody's just a
yes.
human, right? And everybody, like you were saying in that podcast about speaking or being who you see these people as, is like everybody doesn't have their shit together as much as
Oh,
you don't, right? Like we look at these people like, oh, they have these systems and processes and things happening, and he has this amazing company, and he must be like, oh, too big for this podcast. It's like, no, like he's one of the most heart centered, down to earth people and loves sharing what he does. So it's
yeah.
taking all these people off of these titles and pedestals, right? And just seeing them as doing the same exact work as we are.
Exactly. And like that stretch that you're trying to do, that thing, it's going to come with some resistance because you've never done it before. And so it's going to come with some of that resistance where, again, I was like, I'm targeted with ads of his every single day. And so it makes it seem, because I mean, literally on Facebook, on Instagram, they knew I was looking up his shit before I even was like, I'm thinking about restarting the podcast now that I'm done with school. And so, they're getting me. Like Meta knows me, okay? And but you look at it and you think because of those things, because there's money to put behind all these Facebook ads that they must be so far ahead of you. Or again, these opportunities or these people or these groups, maybe you want to be,
Hmm.
you're like, I want to learn from this person, but like I'm not like that or blah blah blah. Like the people that are in their group, you don't know the people in their group. You don't know their situation. It's often why I'm like, when people assume that other people can't afford their services, I'm like, why are you making assumptions for them? Why
Right.
are
You're
you
limiting
just,
yourself.
yes, why are you deciding how they get to spend their money? Let them, if they think you're valuable, let them spend their money on you. You are valuable. Like people will pay for what they find value in, and that can be you. And so kind of when we're talking about like how I'm wanting to do some of these things that stretched me, what are some of the things that have felt like a really big stretch for you?
Honestly, I think that figuring out that social media is not as intimidating as we think it is, right? And we just get to show up as our authentic selves versus like, what's going to be best for my ideal client and what content do I need to make? And just having these like circles of it needs to be perfect, right? Like, I think taking
Mm,
myself out of the perfection of the thing and just showing up as my authentic self, having conversations, putting myself out there. That was a big hurdle for me to get through because there's so many gurus that say you have to do it this way, you have to do it this way,
oh
what
yeah.
so have you. And that's not true. You can do it however the fuck you want to do it because you are yourself. So just do it. And like, I think the Nike saying, so true for so many things. And just like my little don't
I
quit,
know. Yeah,
do
I
it
see.
sign, right? It's like
Yeah,
I
if
had
you
to
guys
keep
are
that there.
listening and you're not
Right.
watching on YouTube, she's got this great sign that says "Don't quit," but then the NT and "don't" and the QU are crossed out. It says "Do it."
Right. I feel like that and having that as my background reinforces it all the time is that anytime I get in my head with limiting beliefs or any fears, just do it because it's not going to kill you and
Yeah.
you're going to learn something from it. And failure is never a stopping point, it's just a learning point. It's just a speed bump. It's just not giving up on myself, number one. Number two, being able to just put myself out there and just do it. And realizing that it's all a journey and I don't have to be 10 steps ahead. I don't have to compare myself to everybody else who's been doing it longer than me, or even if they've been doing it shorter than me and they've achieved different results. I don't have to guilt or shame myself for
Yeah.
any of it because I am beautifully on my path and I am here to help those who I'm here to help, and what's for me won't miss me.
100%. I was talking to somebody the other day and I was like making this joke. I'm like, I have done my whole life backwards, you guys. I've done my whole life backwards. I had kids first. I was not married. I was single for a long period of time. I built a business first, had incredible success, made six figures, things like that. Then decided, okay, met my husband, which is again how I met Casey. And I was like, okay, now we'll get married. We even went on our honeymoon before we actually got married. And then I went back to school to get my PhD. Like I have done everything out of order that should be done.
Right.
Yeah. When you think about success and when you think about timelines and when you think about like I should be further along and all of these things, it's like the reality is like if I did not have my kids at such a young age and not have I had support as far as my family, as far as like I lived with my mom, I was on food stamps, so I had like government aid. I had a roof over my head, but even that, like we very much struggled. Like I was like,
Mhm.
how am I going to feed my kids? Like this is not the life that I want to live. And had I not had that, it would not have pushed me to create the first business that I did. And the first business that I did so well that within 6 months I was completely booked. It kind of started happening around 4 months, but basically at around 6 months I was like, I can't not have employees. I have too many leads and no place to put them. And that's when I started hiring employees. And that allowed me, so it forced me to be this person because it required me in order to provide for my children. And so then, I mean, I would never take back this, what was deemed as like, none of my friends have, in fact, even right now, I'm like, it's really interesting to me because all of my friends have young children, like 5, 6 to like newborns. And here I am, I'm like, I am getting all of my freedom back. My one child is driving, my other child, now they both are in high school. So I'm like, guys, I'm available for hobbies and happy hour now, which I was not available for
Yes.
like all of my 20s. But it's like, had I not had that, it wouldn't have given me the drive. Not to say that I'm not a driven person, but there was so, it lit a fire under my ass that I don't think I would have had near that level on my own. So even if
Hmm.
you do things backwards or you might get the no, understand that those things might just be in a different fucking order and that's fine. It's okay.
It's all in your timing, and your life can look however you want it to look. You could literally wake up. I have friends at 60 who woke up and decided they wanted their life to be completely different. And now their life is. And it's been a journey, but every day is a choice. You get to show up however you want, whenever you want. And that's why I shifted my business from Casey Jade Photography to Highest Self Studios, because it's helping the clients in my world really embody their highest selves. It's not about me, it's about them. And how can we all empower ourselves to be that so we can empower more people in our world and we can have more impact, because
Yeah.
we're keeping all of that inside and we're doing a disservice to the people that we could be helping grow and heal if we're keeping it all inside ourselves.
Oh, 100%. And I think the more that you share your story, people are always surprised when you do start to share and when you do start to share, like, not just your story, but your gifts, your creativity, your, your imagination, like all of these things where you're like, I have this really big idea. Like, I want to kind of run it by you. When you start to do those things, it also then inspires other people, the people that are meant to be there, that are meant to be
Hmm.
with you through that process, are going to be the people that are excited for you. The people that might not be there for some of this process, they might not receive it in the same way. And again, that's okay. Not everybody is meant for every part of your life or every part of your journey. But when you're bridging that kind of gap that Casey is talking about, being in one realm, maybe you're selling something, you're like, I want to get to this next space. It's going to require a different version of you. And I think,
Hmm.
what Casey is doing is taking people that are like, okay, I need to, in order to be this person, I have to embody different qualities. I'm going to take with me the things that got me here. Like I took with me the struggle of being a single parent and like learning how to do it all, to other business ventures and things like that. Like I'll get scrappy. Like clients who come to me know that they're going to come to me with one idea and they're like, I think I want to do this. And I'm like, here's how you're going to make 7 different income streams from this one thing. And that's the way my brain
Yes.
works. Yes. Like they're like, I would have never thought of that. And I'm like, yeah, but I've had to learn these things. So like the next level of you is going to require to pull from what you already have and to build something else. And nothing gets you further than holding hands with somebody. And I think that's why, again, people are really leaning into coaching and mentorship and things like that, because why would I take the hard road that I've never traveled when you could show me on the map, hey, this kind of works for me, try these things out. And I have some things that somebody's like, that's normal
Hmm.
to feel intimidated. That's normal to feel fear coming up when you're like, I've never done this thing before. But when you're in like mine or Casey's world, where we're like, again, that's a very normal thing. You're starting to stretch, like being comfortable being uncomfortable and having somebody that sits with you through that, I think is probably one of the most healing things, to just have somebody sit there with you. They're not trying to fix your problems. They're
It's
just,
holding space.
yeah, yeah,
Well, and I mean, think about if I said no to photography, because when my mom brought it up, right, I was like, oh, I'm already too old. It's too expensive. There's too many people doing it. All of these things that come up. If I wouldn't have gone down that path, I wouldn't be where I am now, and I wouldn't have impacted the people that I've impacted so far. And
yeah.
if I would have said no to when I got the intuition to expand into more than photography, how many people was I keeping myself from helping at that point? So it's just like, what is the next iteration of you? How much more could you be doing? How much more do you want to share of yourself? And why do you feel like that's not possible for you in this moment?
Well, and that kind of brings up like, Casey actually has this quiz. It's called "What's Keeping You Small and How to Break Free" quiz. So it gives you a little bit more of, it's a couple of questions and really taps into what's the essence of the things that are keeping you from stretching. Again, you don't have to, this podcast or this, video isn't about you have to become an entrepreneur. It's understanding that this happens when you have a fitness goal. This happens when you have a goal at work. This happens when you're like, hey, I want to take up gardening, but I don't really fucking know where to start. And I've never kept a house plant alive. So, like, how am I going to do it outside? Like these are things that, like, you have to be okay with being the person who doesn't know it all sometimes. And you have to be okay with, I'm gonna need some guidance. I'm gonna need to ask some questions and like, what part of me am I scared to be seen by others? To ask again at the nursery, hey, can you show me what the best things are to get started? Can you recommend a good book? Searching things on YouTube, hiring, there's a woman who's an herbalist. I love watching her on Instagram. She does all sorts of different recipes and things like that for all different things and uses literally her, I think she lives on an island. So I think it's like Hawaii.
Ooh,
I mean, of course you have a beautiful garden. Us Las Vegans, we really struggle with keeping things alive. It is so dry. It's so hot here.
the climate is not great
It's
for
not
that.
ideal, but there are people in Las Vegas who do
Do
it. It's
it.
possible. But that's the thing, finding, hey, is there somebody else? And I always call this benchmarking in my business, where it's like, okay, if you don't have what you want yet, who can you find who does have what you want? You don't have to know them personally. You don't have to know everything about their life. They might be a couple times removed. It might be somebody on Instagram you've never met. And again, if you're a photographer and you're like, I'm wanting to grow my business, you might want to go follow Casey because Casey is doing and expanding in ways that you might want to do too. Now, maybe not exactly, but you're like, hey, I want some digital products, or I want some coaching or mentoring where I work a little bit longer with people. I want, some of these things. You need to go find people that are doing what you're doing so you can literally start to tune into their frequency, how they speak, how they act, how they interact with people, how they respond to comments. Like I watch all of those things because it tells me so much.
Girl, it's so interesting too, because as you start to put yourself out there, I want you to know that there will be people that you trigger because certain people are not ready to be their authentic selves and
Mm.
they then project that onto you. I actually, the other day, had somebody text message me who is an older woman and who is a coach and a mentor and an energy healer and like a guide for other people. And the text message started with, I'm going to call you out on something, and started just being, instead of coming from,
Wow.
just like you were saying before, coming from curiosity, and that's who we are. That's our superpower. I'm a 1-3 in human design. So I'm the investigative martyr. I ask questions and then I trial and error and figure out my life. So she came at me with this entire text of judgment. And I was so taken aback because I had no idea what had triggered her or made her feel so much in her body about herself that she needed to share that feedback with me. And I shared with her that it had come off more judgment than curiosity, and that I would really appreciate a conversation instead of just a blanket text messages about how you're feeling about how I'm being online instead next time.
Well, and honestly, I love right now the people or just like the culture that is because you put this online, I can say whatever I want to you and like share. I'm like, it's so interesting because I never go on people's pages and say any of these things. You have time for this? Like,
Right. Who has time to just be involved in everybody else's
who
life? But
gives
that's what you were
shit?
saying earlier, is that people are so stuck in talking about other people or talking about everything else that's an external factor
Yeah,
because they don't want to look inside. They're deathly afraid of processing anything inside of them.
yeah, yeah. They're afraid to see their own shadow.
Yes.
Essentially, like they're like, it's so much easier to focus on other people because I don't have to take responsibility for that. If I focus on the way it's making me feel and the way that's making me react, then I have to be responsible for my emotions and my reactions.
And
Like,
that's where you figure it out. The gift is in the trigger. Whatever is coming up for you is something you get to process and feel out what made you feel that way or where that came from, or maybe what emotions you're holding on to with how this person is
yeah,
making you feel.
yeah. And I love that you use a gift because it doesn't actually feel like a gift. Fun fact, guys, a trigger never feels like a gift. In the moment, it feels like rage. It feels like anxiety. It feels like I want to throat punch you. It doesn't
Mhm.
feel gift, but the thing is, it's trying to show you things. Just again, like, I mean, even like circling back to like boudoir and stuff like that, you're wanting the boudoir photo to make you feel a certain way. This is the opposite. Something has triggered you to feel a certain way and you don't like it. And so
Exactly.
instead, and it feels threatening, which is totally very normal. But at this point, now that you feel threatened, how you respond is a lot more telling about you. And the fact that you needed to take time and energy to let me know. how you feel about what I'm doing that doesn't actually affect you tells me a lot more about you than it does about me and what I'm doing.
Just because you see my story online has no bearing on what you know about me offline.
No. And that's the thing is, it's interesting because I do know, I mean, I know Casey personally, so this is not like we're meeting for the first time shooting the shit. And Casey is the same. Casey is the same. How she talks right here is literally the same out here, not being anybody different.
No, and I treat everyone the same, from somebody who, my housekeepers, who I love and respect, to Johnny Depp when I met him. I treat every fucking human the same because we all put our pants on the same way. We all poop and we all have insecurities, and we all deserve
Yeah.
to be held in the light of ourselves and to be supported in where we need support. Doesn't matter who you are.
Right. And I think so many of us just need, I think sometimes it's what like you're starting to see a lot of separation, so to speak, of like people who are, I think that's one of the blessings of technology is it's been given this, now we have this gift of being able to see what truth feels like or what people are masking or sharing or whatever so much more than we used to. And that's a lot for our nervous system. So that also means that there's going to be a lot more triggering, which also means you either give into the trigger and your knee jerk reactions and you lead from your subconscious programming, or you choose to unlearn and make changes. And so I think as much as I've talked about this a lot in many conversations, as much as technology gets a bad rap, I think it is also one of the greatest blessings in that sense that
Mhm.
it shows us that there are so many other truths that are being lived, and those are okay for other people, and that's fine for other people. And it might not be the same truth for you, and that's okay too.
No, that was, I love how you said that because that was one of my first getting deep with myself moments in self development, was when I realized that I could react or I could respond. And the reason that I
Mm,
was reacting was because of what I saw when I was growing up. And that was what I thought was normal. And that was what I thought a normal reaction to an emotion was. And taking a step back from that and feeling, just when I feel emotion come up in my body, and where is that coming from? What do I actually feel? Versus reacting emotionally. And then you can respond from your heart, you can respond from where you're actually coming from, was the biggest aha in the beginning of my personal growth journey.
yeah, I think so many people have those like little moments where they're like, oh, I think that's where it starts. And once you are aware and once you know, you can't unknow something. And I think that's where a lot of this like unlearning and changing belief systems and changing again your frequency because I want something different, I want something more, is that I can't unknow things now that I know them. I can pretend, but it never feels good. It will always feel like friction. It will always feel like tension because you know it's not right for you. And now that you're like, there's another way to live that feels better for me when I'm not living that way, it again creates tension in the system, creates tension in the body and in the field around the body, and it changes my biology. It changes, you see there's all sorts of books written and people who research how emotions and experiences that we have affect our biology. I mean, it's case in point. Every time you think about a time that makes you sad, it's not happening to you in the moment. You're just thinking about it and you start to cry. That happens throughout your entire body all of the time for every single emotion. And so when you start, like you said, to be like, I either get to react or respond, I either get to choose what's been happening my whole life, or this hasn't felt good and I want to choose something different. When you start to do that is when I think that it's that like little pebble that starts to turn into that like snowball, or that little rock in your shoe that eventually, one or two steps is fine, but now you've walked a mile and you're like, this fucking hurts. I need to do something about it.
Well, I realized how my emotions were triggering me a little bit when I was watching a romantic comedy the other day. And I
Mm.
realized that romantic comedies and the movies and shows that I grew up with are why I have had certain patterns in my relationships.
Oh yeah.
Because
Oh yeah.
if you go back and watch these rom-coms of like the 90s, these
I,
are such toxic relationships
have
and
you
choices. Oh,
watched The Summer I Turned Pretty?
no.
Oh, girl.
It's on my list. I just finished Love Life and I'm obsessed with that. So The Summer I Turned Pretty is my next one.
I was
Tell me
like,
about it.
that's case in point. Like the amount of people that are like, if you haven't finished it, don't watch this. But if you are Team Conrad, so like one of the brothers is very emotionally, it's avoidant. attachment. And so as soon as she's like, I really like you, then he pulls away. And then so she, honestly, her development with, I don't want to give too much away since you haven't watched it, but
Oh no, you're fine. Get it, girl.
I was like, her development with Jeremiah, which is
Hmm.
the other brother, is a
Right.
much better emotionally stable relationship. He's much better emotionally communicative. But do you know the amount of people that are like, Team Conrad? I was like, you guys, you're all the people that don't see the red flags. That is a
Right.
red
Those are the
flag.
ones that are in those chaos
Yes,
patterns of
because that,
needing that.
yes, you think love safe love feels a little boring. It's not as exciting as when they leave you and come back, and it should be all this emotional reactivity. And to your point, like when you're so caught in that loop of reactivity, your nervous system is severely dysregulated. You're not making choices from this place where you have your future self in mind, you have your survival self in mind. Those are
Mhm.
very different people. Very different people.
And that's not how you attract a healthy relationship.
No, it's not.
It's
Oh,
just interesting to see these storylines play out in these shows and movies, right? Like when I was in college, I took an abnormal psych class and it was a 400 level class. And this was one of my favorite structured classes because how she did it, she turned societal, like the movies, TV shows, things like
uh,
that, into the assignments. So she would assign us a disorder or a what have you, and it would be here's the movie that this is played out in, and I want you to do a report on how they portrayed it, if there was anything missing, what they could have
I
done
would
better,
love that.
whatever. So it tied it to the role that was portrayed in, and that really just anchored everything into my favorite thing, which is watching movies and TV shows. So that was the coolest class. I got
Yeah.
to do Don Juan DeMarco with Johnny Depp because he had the dissociative personality disorder.
Well, and how it also makes you realize like how that can just be walking around in everyday life and you don't even realize that this is the way that you are reacting because of how your nervous system has become structured at such a young age.
We've input into that
Yes.
system.
Yes, and like how we've normalized
Hmm.
dysregulation and like how that plays into again like the work that you and I are doing of like hey, let's help people get to a place where they love themselves, they have space and are able to respond instead of react, where we can start to change the narrative of the mind and change all of the neural pathways that have connected that have made you really critical. We're going to start to undo some of those by strengthening others so that these start to dissolve. It's really fascinating, I think, when you start this process of unlearning who you've thought you had to be successful, to be this next,
Mm.
to be all these things, and you start to step into some of that. It's like all of these principles that Casey and I have talked about throughout this hour start to become very, very much real for you rather than something that is just kind of like talked about.
That's why it's been so beautiful for me to watch you for the past so many years, right? Like evolve in your business and evolve in your audience and evolve in your message and evolve in all of these, the beautiful impact that you have. And I'm so fucking proud of you for never giving up and just keeping going. Like shit's hard sometimes,
It
right?
is.
And we hit bumps in the road where we're like, what the fuck are we doing here? Why are we here?
Yeah.
And I love, love, love watching you. It's just been this beautiful growth. And without you pushing forward, you wouldn't have the impact that you have. So I just want to take a minute to just mad love and fangirl you because I've been watching the whole time and I love you.
Oh, I love you too. It's really, I love this conversation that we're having. I think if you've listened this far and you're like, yes, I really love this, like you would probably love being in both of our worlds and doing some of the things with us and going on retreats or doing boudoir shoots and doing the 90 days and stuff like that. Cause this is, again, like this is how we live. And I think that's the part of being the frequency. It becomes something that's no longer a mask. It's no longer a performance. It's no longer, this is the version of myself that the world sees. And this is the private me. There's always things that you keep private, but you are who you are because it's embodied. And when you want that next version of you, there has to be that embodiment piece, which I think you've just done such a beautiful job as you've transitioned and built and grown from doing photography, which is incredible work. But I think you've just really taken it above and beyond. So I'm so grateful for you being here with us for the past hour and having these conversations. I feel like we just like there's so many things where I was like, oh, we could go like on this,
Deep,
rip on
deep, right?
that. Yeah, I was like, we might have to do the round two. But I'm so glad that you are able to just chat with us and share your wisdom. She has an incredible quiz that we were talking about, what's keeping you small and how to break free. So if you want to take that quiz, it's free, 90 free. It'll be in the show notes. We'll get you that. And tell them where all they can find you. Where's the best place to like hang on the internet? Tell them all the things.
So the best place to hang if you want to see me living my life to the fullest so that you can help solidify the fact that you can do it too is highestself.me underscore on Instagram. That's where I do all my stories, posts, all that stuff. If you'd like to learn about all the things that I do, highestself.me is also my website. But if you search Casey Jade, you'll find me everywhere.
She is everywhere. She's done all the things. So thank you so much again, Casey, for being here. I appreciate you so much. And we always sign off with, if you had one piece of advice to tell somebody that would help them be the frequency and embody this next version of themselves that they're trying so hard to change their life to, again, embody, like what would it be? A little one liner.
Figure out what your inner child is missing and figure out how to give it to her.
Oh, so good. I like, honestly, I feel like every time I ask somebody this, I should really just open with it because it's, if you just did that, if you did what your inner child wanted, so
The
much
world's
more
your oyster.
fulfilling.
We stop ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Like when we're kids, all the magic goes away. I want to go rollerblade and dance and play in sprinklers again. And that's what I've been doing. So do it.
I love it. Embodied. See, she's like, I'm not telling
Embodied.
you to go do the fun things and not going to do the fun things. She's doing it. So go ahead and give her a follow, take her quiz. And until next time, you guys, cheers.